Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is money versus value, or money and value. And money is such an important part of or a pivotal part of so much of our lives. And we don't necessarily take as conscious an awareness to it as we might. So we get to have a conversation around that today. It should be fun. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present, and let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing your cells, all your organs, and bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing, and lighting you up from the inside out, bringing all this brilliant energy to your cells, your molecules, and electrons. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. Let's press our palms together now and rub those palms vigorously together to just get that blood flowing, feel that sensation, and allow all that sensation to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So good to be here with you this morning. And today we're talking about money and value. And the reason that this is up as a conversation for now is you guys know I do coaching, that's the way that I make my living. And I am now recruiting for my October cohort that will start October 3rd. And as of the 1st of September, I'm raising my prices. And so there's the opportunity now for, good morning, Kimberly, welcome. So good to have you here with us this morning. We're talking about money and value. Anyway, so I'm recruiting clients, and if they sign up before the 1st of September, they get to keep the existing price. So there have been a lot of money conversations, and money is a conversation that, or conversations around money are often conversations that people get really uncomfortable about, right? The cost of things, the value of things, and it's really interesting because I rarely have a client, I maybe had one client or two clients that haven't brought up the conversation around money in determining whether or not to go forward with the coaching. And I'm using this as an example because it's close to me, but I think we can apply this conversation to pretty much anything. So when we evaluate, and how about that word value in the middle of evaluate? When we evaluate our choices, our financial choices, we're often inclined to look at them in terms of dollars and cents and say, well, I'm trying to cut back on money, so on my expenses, so I'm going to cut out all the extraneous expenses. Okay. And I'm all about being financially responsible. That's awesome. And what happens is that we often just look at the price tag on something. without looking at the value that it provides. Or we say, I want something, and then we don't look at the price tag, it's an interesting thing, the way we engage with things around money. So I often have the opportunity when this money conversation comes up. I understand the dollars and cents of it. And the question is, what are you prioritizing? Like, what is the value that you have the opportunity to receive from this service? And so it was really, really interesting, because I have the privilege of working with people who are business owners or who have families, people that have lives, right? And so the question is because people often think of services, and I know that many of you are healer people who are charging for services. People often perceive those services as maybe self-indulgent or as extraneous, or as not frivolous, but let's just stick with self-indulgent, right? That I can cut back here, and here, but they're looking at things from an accounting point of view rather than from a value point of view. And so what's really interesting is to have the opportunity to speak to people and say, look, you're aware of the value of this because you experienced a transformation. What impact might that transformation or that continued transformation have in your life and on the people that you impact routinely in your life? So if you are a business owner or you are a parent, what is your well-being? How is your well-being impacting all these other people in your world? As a parent, we're concerned about the welfare of our children. If I have things that are impeding my welfare, my happiness, my balance, my sense of vitality, how is that going to impact you as my child, right? What's the ripple effect of my being state on the world that I interact with? Good morning, Bernadette. So good to have you here with us. And Nicole, welcome. Great to have you here. And Nicole says, realizing the Atman, our true self, before our experiences here as a human, helps us to understand that our currency is our energy signature, and the manifestations required in this holographic matrix reality will allow things to appear, whether they are presenting itself in opportunities that allow for financial growth. Things will assist us within our morphogenic field that will allow expansiveness. Just remember, all things manifest first in the spiritual realm and proceeds into the physical world. Yay, Nicole, thank you for that. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about how we tend to say, oh, I don't need the self-care things. I don't need the things that are going to help me in my transformation as much as I need my Starbucks coffee, for instance, like money and value. And recognizing that when we really look at the value of something, the ramifications of it in our beingness, in our expression in the world, that that we get to find ways to support those things that most deeply support ourselves and our beingness. So I just find it really interesting, that someone can experience a radical shift and recognize the potentials and have an expressed need and then say, yeah, but these other things are more important. Because when we, I guess it's investing, when we invest in ourselves and our well-being, we are impacting the world that we engage with in a very powerful way. And in shifting our being and our attitudes around business or around family or around relationship, then we're creating a much greater value than the dollars and cents appear to be on the balance sheet. I guess what I'm saying, and this goes into a conversation of ecology even, is that not all expenses are equal. And I was just having a really interesting conversation with somebody who is working with data that recognizes the interactions of ecosystems, and it brought to mind my growing understanding of forestry and trees and carbon sequestration. We hear a lot about that, and we talk about planting trees. Well, the thing is that if we clear cut an old growth forest and we replace it tree for tree or 10 trees per tree with a new growth forest, it's not equal. It's not an old growth tree does not equal a new growth tree. An old growth forest does not equal a tree plantation. So like $1 spent on personal transformation is not equal to $1 spent at Starbucks. And I think that understanding the value, like recognizing value as a determining factor in where we choose to invest our time, our energy, our finances, that recognizing value is something that we don't necessarily do automatically. Where are we investing our energy? It's not just money and value that we want to talk about, but that's where it shows up a lot. But talk about our energy, our life force. Then that's kind of what you're addressing, Nicole. Like things are manifesting on an energetic, spiritual level before they become physical. So when we invest in our being, we shift our reality, we shift our whole experience of reality. And as a result, we shift what gets manifested in our reality, right? It's really, really profound. And so I encourage you to be looking at the value that you can create for yourself by deliberate awareness in making choices for where you're going to put your attention, your energy, your affection, your finances. And I think it's interesting. I watch where people will choose to cut back. You know, if let's say I have a fixed pool, or I have a fixed amount of time, or I have a fixed amount of money, as easy as probably one of the easier things to talk about in this respect. What am I going to, how am I going to allocate that money? The other thing is that we have this tendency to believe that things are going to go on the same continuum. And so when I talk about money, it's like I have this fixed pool of money, and what am I going to do with it? Kimberly, you are so sweet. Kimberly says, I appreciate you so much. You've helped me grow, believe in my worth. Well, I'm so thrilled about that, Kimberly. So this is, this is another thing that we get to be looking at, is our own worth, right? And so often, well, not so often, pervasively, we're conditioned to evaluate our own worth based on externalities, based on the metrics that have been presented to us by a very materialistic culture. So we're programmed deeply to believe that our worth is dependent upon what I do, how I look, what I own, who I know, all those kinds of external metrics. And it's not true. I mean, we are intrinsically worthy just by virtue of our being. We don't have to prove anything. People treat us like we do. The culture treats us like we have to prove ourselves. But the thing is, we're worthy just by virtue of our being here. And so we have these metrics, particularly around money. Like, it's culturally, it's acceptable to spend a bunch of money on a fancy car, and yet not spend money to buy organic food that's going to fuel our personal vehicle, for instance. It's interesting, right? Like, how do we prioritize? And I think that, it's so funny. And I see this in myself too, but I helped my mom with grocery shopping, and it was really interesting because she was saying, oh my gosh, the prices are so high. We all know, we all have seen how the prices of food have risen, right? But like, I'm not going to buy the potato at this store, because at this store it's $1, at the other store it's 80 cents. I'm buying maybe one potato, but because it's 80 cents at the other store, I'm going to go to the other store. I went to this store for this stuff, but I'm going to go to the other store for the potato because it's 20 cents difference, and it's like, okay, so you're going to save 20 cents on the potato, but you're going to spend however much time, and you're going to spend however much gas to go and buy that potato at the other store. It's interesting, right? Like, I might drive an extra however many miles to go to a gas station that has gas that's a penny cheaper or something. Like, it's so interesting how expenses are something that we see within context, right? Like, I see myself doing similar things and catch myself periodically to say, wow, okay, so Bernadette says spending 40 cents in gas alone, right? Right. Spending 40 cents in gas to save 20 cents on a potato. It's really, really interesting. And or a dozen eggs. So you can buy a dozen eggs for maybe $2 or $2.50. That is from factory farms that have treated chickens absolutely inhumanely, where they're living in horrible conditions, and just with no respect for the animal at all. And you can spend $5.50, $3 more perhaps for a dozen eggs for chickens that are certified, humanely raised, and fed fed organically, and or free range. Ideally, if we believe the certification, humanely raised, right? So $5.50 for 12 eggs is not quite 50 cents an egg. And knowing the value of that, how many eggs do you eat a day? If you eat 2 eggs in a meal or 3 eggs in a meal, it's $1.50 for a meal, versus all the social ramifications and humane ramifications of how those animals are raised and what kind of food industry we're supporting. It's like, how do we value these things? I think it's really important to think about. So Kimberly says, it all makes a difference. I used to have all the best stuff. Now I really am just seeing as stuff. I spend money like water. I'm truly grateful for all I have in my life. I'm truly learning. Awesome, Kimberly. So here's talking about all the best stuff. Well, what makes the best stuff? We're conditioned to believe that what makes the best stuff is the stuff with the fancy label, right? Like the things that are the most expensive are the best stuff, where I don't really believe that's true necessarily. And if we're more discerning about the value of what we're spending money on, like it's the labels, I've never been a designer label person, because that's a manufactured value. That's a status type value, right? It's not. Kimberly says, exactly, it's not value. I don't need labels. Exactly. Like that's mass hypnosis to me, is to say, like, I'm going to go spend $500 on a pair of sneakers or something because, or $200 or however much it is, because of the name. Let's look at what is the value, and what is the value that that thing is creating, and that thing or that service, and then assess the cost against the value. I think that life would be very different if we looked at things from a lens of value, and look at, well, why am I valuing that? Am I valuing that because it makes me look a certain way? Is it reflection of our consumerism. So Nicole says, precisely, I can find value in upscale consignments that offer community assistance to local charities as much as I find value in organic products. Yay, Nicole, I agree 100%. You know, upscale consignments, you like certain clothes. Is it because of the labels, or is it because of the style or whatever? But offering community assistance, then there's a deeper value to then making that purchase. You know, you're making a contribution with that purchase, for instance. So anyway, I think we get to look at value in a bigger context to see how we to make choices that are in greater alignment with our heart and soul. Bernadette says, socially, I guess I would be classified as poor, but to me, I am rich. So that's exactly the thing, Bernadette, is abundance is an inside job. Hello, Elaine, welcome. Great to have you here with us. And Bernadette says, I have the things I need and want. I have family. I have the journey of life that forever makes me grateful. You nailed it, Bernadette. And looking at value, like what is going to be, what is something that I value, and what is something that creates value. So Kimberly says, me too, buddy, replying to Bernadette. And so I think that that's it for today, because I have to run, but we get to be present to the actual value that something creates for us, and invest our time, our energy, our love, our caring, our finances in those things that create value, really intrinsic value for us and for others. So with that, thank you for being involved and engaged in these conversations. I am so grateful to you, and I so appreciate this time together. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And I encourage you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, EWN One with the Earth, and Enlightened World Living. And until next time,